Hi, thank you for coming. Today we are doing a quick presentation on Minnesota's wild animals, the ones that are less likely to be found in your standard suburban backyard. I've done a previous presentation that was on wild animals of Minnesota, the common ones, and the ones the trend was that most of them you could see, in any standard backyard in the state of Minnesota. Also, just in the wild as well, but a lot of them were specifically um, largely suburban. Um, we're going into the wild animals, the ones that you don't really see out and about that often. It's kind of a rare sighting, a cool experience when you do see them. So we are going to just go ahead and jump in. The black bear. Oh, I did want to apologize in advance. I didn't have any pictures of these animals, and so I thought that I would draw them. So this is there's little clip arty pictures. Um, and the likenesses can vary in efficacy for identification, very much so. I would suggest definitely looking at actual photos for identification reasons, but I just wanted it to be kind of special, and so I did try to draw them. They're all about this level of skill. I tried to get through it pretty fast, and I maybe you can tell. But the black bears, they are omnivores. They eat fish and berries. They live in forested areas. They are of the class Mammalia, family Ursidae, genus Ursus, kingdom Animalia. And males can be from 130 to 500 pounds, and females can be from 90 to 300 pounds. The black bear. This is just super basic stuff, and the information provided does vary from slide to slide. It's not consistent, so we're mixing it all up with this presentation. Um, but it's still got some information and some interesting factoids. This is the gray wolf. Ta-da! Looks kind of dog-like in nature. Um, it is a federally protected species. The largest population is in Minnesota, in the 48 states that are aside from, you know, Alaska. The 48 doesn't include Alaska, and I think Hawaii also. They live in packs of 2 to 15. They prefer dense northern forests. They are illegal to hunt without meeting the specific requirements. You can hunt them in defense of human life. So this is the gray wolf. This is a moose. The moose is herbivorous. It can be over 6 feet in height and 1,500 pounds. It is native to the boreal forest of the northern hemisphere, and predators include wolverines, wolves, bears, and humans. The males are called bulls, and females are called cows, and their antlers can be up to 6 feet in their spread. The fox, it did list a few different color foxes in the state of Minnesota, but this is specifically red fox information, um, which I have seen in the Midwest area. I've actually, I think I've seen them up north, and in Wisconsin, but I don't know that I've seen any of the other color foxes myself. Um, but these animals do prefer living in brush piles or ground dens. They can grow to be about 16 inches tall and up to 3 feet long. They eat mice, rats, rabbits, squirrels, birds, snakes, fish, insects, berries, nuts, seeds. The list goes on. They are more common than other predators in the state, perhaps because they are smaller. Um, and pretty speedy. They like forests and open fields. They can be active both day and night, but they often do hunt at night. Raccoons. They are omnivores. Crayfish, corn, insects, fruits, and garbage is kind of what they eat. They are actually, I'm skipping ahead, they are kind of nuisances. Sometimes they can be deemed pets in suburban areas because they do get into the garbage cans. That often happens at night. They are nocturnal, but they can also be active during the day. They can thrive in both cities as well as prairies, and they can live to be 15 to 30 pounds. They can carry and transmit rabies and roundworm, so you do want to be careful. One of the signs of rabies is foaming at the mouth. Skunk. Skunks are omnivores. They are mostly nocturnal. They eat insects, rodents, snakes, fruits, nuts. They live in dens. They spray odorous fluid from their rear ends to protect themselves from predators. And they can spray up to 6 times with 8 to 10 days needed to refuel. This is a beaver. They are semi-aquatic. They build dams and lodges out of mud and down trees. They fell trees using their large front teeth. They played a large role in the historic fur trade of the 1800s, and they slapped their tails on water to scare away predators. River otters. They build dens along the waterways, um, specifically rivers, lakes, swamps. That's what you kind of will find in the Minnesota area, but they are kind of widespread in the northern uh, climes. They are considered weasels. They're weasel in the weasel family. Um, they eat fish, clams, mussels, snails, small turtles, crayfish, and their whiskers can help them track prey. They can weigh up to 33 pounds. So that's a river otter. I'd say that this is probably my least favorite doodle, but it's still adorable. And I think that is actually the last slide, the last little snippet of information. I will say this is very condensed, a very short presentation, but I'll just supplement a little bit with the basic kind of information of where you can learn more. I know they do have river otters up at the aquarium up in Duluth, Minnesota. They have a few, and they are somewhat trained. They get toys out and they come out for feeding, and then they can kind of hide back in their little hidey hole. Beavers you will see around. We have one at my family lake. And it's actually really cool because they will take down a lot of trees if they're trying to build their dam or expand their dam. But it's really, really cool to see the submerged tree when it's downed and brought into the water. If you have kayaks, it's such a cool experience because you get to see a lot of them will be down in fall. And so you can see the fall colors in the leaves underwater, and it's ethereal. It's a really cool experience if you get the opportunity to see that. So super cool. And they do slap their tails on the water to scare away predators. Um, I um, I led a night paddle and um, and out of nowhere you just heard this large slap in the water and you could kind of I think that was the instance where you could kind of see the silhouette within the moonlight too. So they are beautiful animals and very, very cool. You will see more of these around than some of the larger predators. They are beautiful. Skunks. I did come across these. We had a family of them living by my domicile when I lived in Duluth. And they scavenged some good old-fashioned fast food. When I was running one day, they were out. It was during the nighttime. I went for a jog, and uh, so you want to be careful. They can hide under porches. They can hide, in your suburban neighborhoods, and so you do want to be careful. You do not want to get sprayed. But you do hear different theories on what to do once you have been sprayed. I think one book that I read suggested vinegar in the clothes and on your body because it's very, very smelly and it kind of sticks around. So I've heard vinegar, I've heard tomato soup or just like tomatoes. The acidity of it, I think, is supposed to kind of eat away at some of the odor. But you can look at that online, check it out. Raccoons, I have seen some of those up north. So cute. Their babies are adorable. But I think you can probably say that of every single one of these animals. Um, Moose, we do have moose representation. You might be able to see some in the Boundary Waters canoe area up north Minnesota. They also have a nod to moose at the aquarium up in Duluth. They also have a nod to them up, I think, by the Wolf Center up in around Ely, Minnesota. I think there's a nod to them there. Obviously, wolves are one of their predators that eat them, and so it makes sense that given the food chain to have a feature of the moose there. So they've got a nice display there too if you want to learn more about moose. Gray wolves. They do have the Wolf Museum up in and around Ely, Minnesota. Very, very cool to see them there. You might be able to find them in zoos as well. I think that there were a few, maybe at the Como Zoo down in the Twin Cities. I'm not, it's been a long time since I've been to the Minnesota Zoo. We do have a Minnesota Zoo, but it's been a very long time for me on that one. I'm sure that they have all these, but also the black bear. I have seen some out and about. There was one crossing the freeway around about the Brainerd area. I've seen them central, east central of the state, kind of. At one of the state parks. I've seen them way up north at some of the state parks. You'll see written warnings about the bears at campsites, the state park campsites. So you will see warnings. You will see these around. It's so cool when you do. I know in one instance, some of them were actually walking towards a playground. And like there were kids playing on this playground and they were kind of walking, but they weren't walking to the playground. They were walking in the direction of the playground because there was a water source nearby. And so there was like a beach. And so it was um, very, very interesting. They were not afraid, so they probably are used to the human presence in their that area. But beautiful animals, all of these. Um, does anyone have any questions?